Consequence Podcast Network.
This episode brought to you by Nick B.
Nick B.
Oh, he did do a Facebook correction of Carloof.
Did we car fuck it up?
We may have. I'm sure we did.
Pup date.
Barf, barf.
I hate all of
Okay,
this.
I'm not sure how this is actually going to work, but here's what it says. Pup date for Jenn Ferratu. Should I do it in a British accent? Because
No.
I do think that is not offensive.
Because I do think that it's not offensive. So it's okay. Pup date for Jenn Ferratu.
Oh my God.
It's Carloof. All right, so it's a deep metal mumble growl.
So it's not Carloof.
It's Carloof. That's how he sounds. I
I
tried.
could not have been any more wrong.
DJ Jazzy Carloof. I have a message for you. Carloof.
Oh, wow. Jen is getting real dirty. Did you hear what she said to that dog? I can't believe she said that into a microphone. That is recording.
I said it doggy style.
That is so...
They just say regular sex, Jen. That's how they
pardon me.
Yeah,
Is that
for them it's
doggist?
not doggy style. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sex to them, Jen. This episode brought to you by
Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca.
So, Mikey, do you have a pickup line based on the movie for us today?
Yeah, I looked up serial killer pickup lines.
Oh, wow.
These are terrible. Let's go through a couple that will get cut, shall we? Okay, this is a good one. Hey, Rebecca, will you run away from me somewhere romantic?
Oh, I like that.
Okay, we can do that.
It's for the couple that wants to both chase and be chased.
Yeah.
And if you want to remain chased, get yourself some Disney ears from Straight On Tell Disney on Etsy, Rebecca's Etsy store. This episode also brought to you by Mats.
Hey, Mats.
And
Guten Tag.
Oh, wow, that's German. Mats is from Sweden, and he wants us to share some fun Swedish facts, and I found this one. North Korea owes Sweden 300 million euros for 1,000 stolen Volvos. And
Volvos?
Volvos.
100?
Okay.
Wow, 1,000 stolen Volvos. All you have to do to follow this story is listen.
That's a little dig to me.
I'll feed you, baby birds. North Korea owes Sweden 300 million euros for 1,000 stolen Volvos. So the funny part about this is that every 6 months, they send them a bill.
Hey, if you're in North Korea, pay up.
Pay your fucking bills, bruh.
North Korea better have my money.
And if they don't, we'll send you a bill in 6 months.
Yeah, don't act like you forgot.
This episode also brought to you by Spider Tom.
Spider Tom. I do have a spider fact. Today, we are going to finally put to rest the age-old mystery of our granddaddy long-leg spiders, the most poisonous spiders on Earth. It is impossible to know if the venom of a granddaddy longlegs is poisonous, or, pardon me, venomous, unless we shrink someone down, like a human down, like inner space style, and then pit them against a granddaddy longleg.
Why do you have to make them fight, Jen?
Because I want to give the spider a fair fight. He's a grandfather, Todd. He's a veteran. He fought in the Spider Wars. He saved Hogwarts. What?
Wow, you were all over the place. Aragog, first off, did not save Hogwarts.
Did he not?
No,
Oh.
he tried to kill Harry and
Not
this
cool.
episode also brought to you by
Ryan.
Whoa.
Yeah, Mikey's really into it.
So Ryan just took 3 days off work and has just been luxuriating all over his apartment watching all the TV.
Oh, yeah.
And regaling Todd and I with
yeah.
the stories of all the TV Ryan's watching.
How relaxing it is.
I just watched this movie and I had so much time. I
Oh my
decided to watch
God,
another
I watched
movie.
3 movies
I
after the
know.
gym yesterday.
Yeah.
Some quarantine, Ryan.
Maybe Ryan was trying to help people after a tornado and a fucking pandemic.
No.
I don't think Ryan was. Welcome back to another episode of The Patreonicals.
Thank you for that introduction. First, I just want to say Jen did a great job, but her story's not canon.
Well, oh.
As we last left our intrepid young heroes,
Our intrepid young heroes.
Eddie and Matthew, as they track Sunny D cannibalism. Y'all heard of this
Jesus.
coronavirus?
Yeah,
Ooh.
It's in the Sunny D.
that makes sense.
This is where it came from.
It goes straight to the top.
You know, it started in Korea where they went to China. A shipment went to China. A shipment went to Italy.
Uh-huh.
A shipment's here
Yeah, it came in Washington.
in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah,
So we got Sunny D19.
Sunny D19.
instead of COVID-19.
Yeah.
I love it.
People are getting sick and they're trying to eat people.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what Sunny D will drive you to.
They're tracking Isaac down because he's but people are dying out there.
Yeah.
Does the disease spread if you get eaten, or do you have to drink Sunny D?
Oh, it spreads virally. So they're having to do social distancing and quarantine. It's a global pandemic at this point.
At this pun.
It's citrus distancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the commercials say, "Orange, you glad you stayed at home."
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Well, the orange economy has crashed.
Yeah.
Sunny D did it. Matthew's umbrella has been honed in because one of Isaac's teeth was found.
The umbrella has a tooth tracker in it.
So they track him down to this lab, and they're like, when the world is like, there's no coming back. Like, this is going to be real damage to the patriarchal world here.
Yeah.
So Eddie brings 17 turtles.
Are they snapping turtles?
Some of them.
Some of them are boss turtles.
Some of them are just regular map turtles.
Yeah.
And what happens, Mikey?
They go to this lab,
Right.
Okay.
and Isaac is like, "Oh, welcome to my lab."
Hey,
He's just
turtles.
nonplussed. He's like, oh, shit. Hey, welcome, guys. Nice turtles.
He's like, "I did this to punish you, Matthew, because you like saving things, and you can't stop this. It's everywhere." Isaac's like, "Fuck you, brother."
He just came out with it.
Yeah.
He just came out with it. He was like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
It's time to stop being nice.
And start getting real.
You killed my brother, Matthew.
Prepare to die.
And then he just hits the ejection button in his big lab seat.
What?
Yeah, he sits on an Emperor Palpatine chair and
Okay.
Nice.
shoots out of the lab.
Okay.
And then Matthew and Eddie are like, "Well, damn."
Well, damn, dog.
Yeah. But also, they noticed in these cages were a cat, a dog, and an older
Oh,
dog.
jeez.
But they're okay. They freed them.
Oh, that's
Okay, good.
good.
Nice, nice.
Are they going to go home?
No, actually, they found a nice man to come adopt the dogs. His
Oh.
name's Derek.
Oh, yay,
nice.
Derek.
That's
So he
sweet.
takes the 3 dogs, the
Nice.
2 dogs and the cat. He's got the
Yeah.
cat in the crate. He's got the 2 dogs on leashes. And then he's walking down the street.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, that Emperor Palpatine chair crushes him and kills the
no.
dogs and the cat.
Oh, my God. He killed all of them.
And Derek.
Oh, my God.
They're all dead. Derek died doing what he loved, saving animals.
He's an honorable dude.
Yeah.
He just can't stop dying.
Yeah.
So Isaac's revenge plan has come to fruition, and Matthew and Eddie vow their own revenge.
Oh, do they?
And they go to chase him, yeah. Stay tuned next week.
For another episode of The Patreonicals. So, guys, this is our listener request week, so we're also going to do our monthly shout-outs to the You Can Get It levels, and these people can truly get it.
They truly can get it.
So, I mean, I can't believe how long some of these people have been at this level. Thank you
I
guys so
know.
much. One of them is Ash,
Hey, Ash.
who is wonderful, our San Franciscan friend out there.
Yes. She has a love affair with breakfast sandwiches.
She does.
Who doesn't?
There's also MTV. Thank you so much, baby.
EMTV.
For being awesome.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's spelled with an E-M.
Karoon. Thank you so much,
Hey,
Karoon.
Karoon.
Ah, Karoon.
Oh, Karoon.
Oh, Karoon.
There's also the lovely Caitlin Aaron.
Yes. Oh, so sweet.
So sweet. And Veronica.
Hey, Veronica.
Don't say her name like that. She's married now.
Oh, so
Oh,
she is. Yeah.
And Veronica.
Hey, Veronica.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to say hello to you.
Greetings.
And salutations.
Platonic greetings to you. That's how
And platonic greetings to all of our
Yes, platonic greetings.
You Can Get It levels.
You can platonically get it.
So, yeah, thank you guys so much for being at the You Can Get
You
It level.
can
We
get
really
it.
appreciate it. Yeah. This episode also brought to you by
Chris. We always do Chris last because it just warms our heart because he just wants
Yes.
you to know that we see you, we love you, you're not alone.
You Are Not Alone.
Yes, Chris.
Chris is here with you. Though you're far away, Chris is here to stay.
Aw. Hey, Chris, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very, very, very much.
And thank you to all of our awesome Patreon supporters. We
Yeah,
love you.
We do.
Hey, guys, the theme music it was really sad. The theme music proposed to another theme music.
Oh, no. How'd it go?
Not very well.
Oh, no.
she said no. Oh, hold on, I got my phone's calling. My phone's
Your phone's calling?
It's the theme music. He proposed to his girlfriend.
Oh, good, good, good.
She said no.
Oh, no.
We got to go pick him up?
Yeah, the theme music wants us to go pick him up.
Oh, my God. Your name's Mikey.
Welcome to the horror version, everybody.
Holy
I'm
shit.
Jen.
That is
Mikey.
amazing. And I'm your horror virgin, Todd, and that means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, you guys made me watch a movie that seemed more like just an instructional video on what never to do in any situation. This movie is The Strangers from 2008. Have you guys seen this movie before?
I did. I think I made out with someone during it because I don't remember a lot of it.
And it was 12 years ago. So, Jen, have you seen this?
I did. Yeah, I watched it. I think I rented it about a year or two after it came out.
Oh, yeah, you Redboxed it?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I went to the future and I Redboxed it from the future and then went back in time.
You've had
to watch
Redbox
it.
for that long, right?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Was Blockbuster still around?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved Blockbuster.
So did you guys like this movie when you saw it originally?
I thought I did, but now I don't know.
Okay.
I'm so confused.
Jen, what about you?
I feel when I watched it today, I had the same feeling as I felt when I watched it the first time. There are things that I really like about it. There are things I think that are really effective, but it ultimately to me feels like the same couple of moves over and over and over again for the whole movie. Yeah.
I have heard that before.
Mikey, you need to change it up in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Like the Bluebell Ice Cream left out all day. I am vanilla.
Oh my God. Mikey, you gotta spice it up, man. Get a swing.
Put some
get a
chocolate
whip,
frosting on it.
Get some handcuffs, have some fun.
Ew, no.
I was really surprised because everyone online had been amping me up saying this was one of the scariest movies I'd ever seen, and I found it largely funny. It was not scary at all to me because of how poorly it was executed.
Yeah, and I think like watching movies with you guys, I've noticed like if there are like logical inconsistencies or like breaks,
I can't. It's not scary because I'm like, oh, this is not real. None of this really could ever happen this way.
Right.
So it's not scary.
And that kind of stuff doesn't really bother me that much. I
Yeah.
think I'm kind of just maybe more willing to let go of some of that just to kind of go with the movie.
I am
you know?
very good at suspending disbelief, but if it's this bad, I mean, when he ties, we'll get there, but when he ties his tie around her hand, literally the next scene he's wearing it, and then he's not wearing it again.
Well, yeah, and then at the very end when she's holding her hand, it's not tied around her hand anymore,
Right.
is it?
No.
I didn't notice that.
And then the scene where he runs through the backyard with the shotgun, there's no big fucking trench there. And then 3 minutes later, when she runs across it, there's a huge fucking trench there.
Yeah, I thought
like
that
this movie is not scary because it's done so poorly.
And see, what I do really like about it, when I can kind of chunk it in little pieces and look at the really kind of effective, scary parts of it, that's what really like scares me. But to look at it as a whole, I think it just feels so repetitive at a certain point.
Oh, yeah,
you
I
know?
mentioned that during the movie, actually.
Right.
That it really was just one sound, walk to it scarily, another sound, walk to it scarily.
Yeah, but there are things that really have, like, that disturb me.
Oh, there were moments that made me jump.
Right,
But they were just the jump scares, but nothing was overtly scary in this movie to me.
Yeah, so I think when I look at it as a whole, it's not as effective as I really want it to be. And I think this movie works for me more like in theory and in my memory than it does when I actually watch it. But we'll go through it.
This movie has the feel of a 48-hour film festival to me because it feels either super rushed or like it was like the director's first movie ever.
And I think it was his first movie.
And not in the sense of like his first time he was hired to direct.
Or like first for
like
a
his
studio.
dad just bought him a camera and he was like, ooh, let's make a movie. Like it's that level of inconsistency. It's so bad.
I agree with a lot of your points. I mean, it's a good movie to rent if you're gonna make out with somebody. But once you start paying attention to it with like three people with a critical lens, it kind of falls apart a little bit.
I think this movie would have been very scary to me if it had been executed by a competent director.
So the story and the like continuity is what you're having is what you're saying you're having problems
Yeah,
with.
I
right?
don't know. I think it's pretty bland story in general. Like the things they do don't make sense. Not
That's
just
what
the
I'm
continuity.
saying. Yeah, like you would have to change the story some because literally everyone chooses the dumbest thing to do in every situation.
I like the horror movies we watch as a group, and you talk, and you're like, I would do this, and then they do it, and something scary happens because
Yeah.
I feel like that's more realistic horror.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is not realistic at all. It's so not realistic that it's laughable to me. So I just started to snicker.
Yeah, you checked out about halfway through.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's supposed to be like a comment on their relationship because it starts in a rocky place and then it ends in a good place. But there's not a lot of journey with them two. Like the guy kind of just continues to be a dick, and she has the ring stuck on her. And at the end, she's like, "I love you." But there's not really.
I know. I laughed when she said, "I love you."
He
'cause it was
doesn't
funny
really
to me.
redeem himself
No,
at all in the movie.
he's a dick the whole movie.
Yeah, and we'll get to the part where like they had a chance to get away, but one of the things I do like about it is I feel like it's a very basic story, and it's like hollow in a way that I think works for a lot of people, because like you could say the same thing about Halloween. Like it's just a very simple story, so you can project a lot into it. And I could probably do that here, but I just think it's almost too hollow. Like there's not enough substance for me. And as much as I love looking at like the mood and the atmosphere, I think that is really effective. It just feels like one creepy thing after another.
The killers in this movie are ghosts, or they don't exist, or they can disapparate. There's no other explanation to make it fit. So they're being attacked by wizards.
They do disappear quite
when
fast.
she fucking touches the back of his head,
and then is immediately
and then he
gone.
turns around immediately and she's gone. I laughed. Like that to me is comedy. But I feel like we should just get into the movie, because a lot of our complaints with it, I think, will hit as we go through it.
So we start with what you're about to see is inspired by true events.
I hate when scary movies do this.
This was a little
Because there's no way that that's true.
well,
it is.
it is.
I think I know the story that this is based off of, and it's a really scary story.
Do you have a fun fact about that, Jen?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we talk about that later?
we'll talk
Okay.
about it then. Yeah.
So let's couch that until later.
But the fun fact that I do know about this, the director does not claim that was his inspiration.
Oh, okay.
So I think this was
Wait, what? So the true story that this is somewhat like, the director's like, yeah, but it's not based on that true story. It's based on a time when I was home alone and someone knocked on the door and I answered it and I felt creeped out.
I got fun facts about that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wait, is that it?
Kind of.
What?
I mean, do you want me to tell it now, or do you want me to say
Let's
it
just,
first?
I want to hear it
let's
now.
just
I want to
do
hear
it
it now.
now.
Jen's fun facts early, because there are 3 stories that this was claimed to have been inspired by, and I'm not sure. Okay, the first
What
one.
did the director say it was inspired by?
The director has said that it was inspired by something that happened when he was a child.
Oh,
And
okay.
Yeah, his parents were out for the night, and he was staying with his older sister. Late at night, somebody knocked on the door, and his sister answered, and they asked for somebody who doesn't live there, like a random name. And they said, no, she's not here. And so the person left. And later on, they found out that that person was going and knocking on doors. And if nobody answered the door, they broke into the house and robbed it. So that was the inspiration for this. And he just added a murderous element. Like, if you are home, the people will kill you.
And that qualified for inspired by true events.
The story that's really similar to this is the Ketty Cabin murders.
Yeah, Ketty Cabin.
Yeah, which was an unsolved crime in 1981, and it happened in rural California. And it's actually only a quadruple murder.
Got to get those numbers up, Mikey.
Yeah. Those are rookie
Ooh.
numbers.
But there were 7 people in the house,
That's
and there were
insane.
some kids in the house that weren't touched
Okay,
because
good.
they were hiding, I think. But one of the girls was kidnapped, and they found her body a couple of months later. It's a really sad story, and it's an unsolved murder.
If you read that Wikipedia, that whole situation's way scarier than this situation.
Let's just get into the movie.
Okay, so we're starting with some facts about unsolved crimes. And according to the FBI, there are an estimated 4 million violent crimes every year. And then they're talking about Kristen and Jim. So it's Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
And they're talking about what happened to them. They were victims of such a violent crime. And what happened to them in the house is still unknown. I do like that. I like the idea that this is what might have happened, but we don't know, because everybody who could have told you what happened is dead.
Well, no,
Except
but this,
she's not, because
I know.
she's alive.
That's
Yeah.
again another inconsistency that's really stupid. And that isn't what happened either, because what happened is someone knocked on the director's door when he was 7 and it freaked him out.
Yeah.
That's the end of that story.
The voiceover tells us that they came home to a vacation home after leaving a wedding. And so
Yeah.
we see them at a stoplight in a car, and they're both crying, and she's crying.
Yeah.
And it's just really awkward.
Been there.
Yeah.
They didn't have too much fun at this wedding. And I think it's his father's
It
hunting
is his dad's
cabin.
house. Yeah. Oh, like hunting cabin.
I
makes
think so.
sense.
Like,
Except
nobody
it's on
lives
a
here all-
residential street. So it's probably
Summer
not a
home.
cabin.
It's a summer home.
Yeah, summer home
Yeah.
is what they say. Yeah.
Yes, but when you go outside, I do think they make a good point of showing there's nobody around. We might see some other houses, but we don't see anybody else around except for those 2 Mormon kids.
Well, they're not Mormon kids, but those kids that were,
They're not Mormon kids.
they're
Well,
not.
from a Mormon kid. You
Yeah,
really
I was a
know.
Mormon kid. Those kids would have been at least 19 if they were missionaries.
Yeah, they weren't on mission.
That's
So the
safe.
director is, man, he failed so hard in this movie. But those kids were on bikes. And when you see them at the end biking towards the house, there's a shitload of houses on that street.
Right.
So they are close to other homes. And if you heard a gun go off, if you heard a rifle go off twice in your residential area, you would call the cops.
But the point is that nobody regularly lives at this house. Like,
Sure,
this
right.
is not their house. They're kind of a little unfamiliar with it. But they get in, and she's smoking, and she kind of hesitates to go in. And it's just very awkward. And then once they do get inside, there's like rose petals everywhere. And he
Yes.
set this very nice fancy
Oh, my
table.
God.
And like rose petals on the bed and like in the bathtub.
This is like every guy's nightmare when they're like about to ask their girlfriend to marry them.
Yeah.
Is that she would say no.
Wait, let's talk about this now.
Yeah.
One, you never ask someone to marry you at someone else's wedding.
He did wait until after the wedding. Like he waited till they went to the
They
car,
were in the
right?
parking
Yeah,
lot,
they went to
But
the parking
even
lot.
then, why?
I mean, it
love is
seems
in the
like they've
air.
only been dating for like 3 days. So
Like, he asked her in the parking lot of the church or the reception.
it's probably just a reception hall. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
When he had petals and candles
At home.
At home.
That's
Well,
true.
home.
But we don't ever actually see him propose because they're in the parking lot and and he's like, I want to ask you something. And then he gets a ring out and she slow motion has this look down of horror. And we supposed that maybe she checked out his junk and realized it was not to her liking.
We
That's what she
did not
said
We did
today.
not
suppose
do
that.
that.
Mikey and I knew what was going
She
on.
looked at that ring and was like, oh no.
Oh, no.
This was the scariest part of the movie.
It was.
Well, and so we find out she said no, although we don't ever actually see it. And the only information we really get about that is she's not ready. And
Yeah,
I'm-
that's what she says later. She says, I'm
Right.
just not ready.
They have a very unhealthy communication style.
Well, because he's an ass. Like, I don't like the guy at all.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And because they're like, they go home, they go inside, she's crying, he's like really upset, like banging stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think he's really that upset. He's still being kind.
I don't know if he was banging stuff. And he did help her unzip her dress
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
help her with her necklace.
Just ask her why she won't marry you, and then you guys don't have to have this big awkward.
I feel like eventually they did have that conversation.
they had
and she
no
just
conversation.
said-
They had 3 sentences.
Well,
where he
no,
was,
what we see is her looking down at the ring, and then we cut to them driving home. So
Right.
in my head, that's when they had the conversation. And that's why they're not
she
talking about
says,
it now.
"I'm not ready" in the cabin.
Yeah, but surely she answered his question when he proposed to
I mean,
her.
she definitely said no.
didn't
she
just-
said no and nothing else.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think she just. I think they've already had the conversation, and that's why we're not seeing.
Well,
it.
I don't think she would be crying if she's like, "No, I'm not ready. Let's postpone."
Still would. Yeah, if he's being weird and upset.
I mean, he was
I mean,
being
if
weird
he's
and
being
upset.
an ass, which I honestly do believe he could have been an ass in that thing we cut away from, because he's sort of an ass the rest of the movie.
And we know he lies to her.
What does he lie to her? Oh, he lied to her about not like knowing how to load a gun. But I mean,
Like,
I don't
yeah,
think
I
that would
thought
be
you
deal
hunted with your
breaker.
dad. I just said that I like lied to you about that. Like, if you're lying about stuff you don't need to lie about, what else are you lying about?
That is true. But also, like,
Why lie about
I
it?
don't know. Like, if I asked a girl to marry me and she said, no, not now, I'm not ready for that right now, my next question would be like,
Are we breaking up?
are we breaking up?
Yeah.
If no, okay, cool.
Tell-
we can
tell me
table
when
this
you
for
are
6.
ready.
Yeah, we can table this for 6 months.
Is this something you see in your future?
Yeah,
let's
have a
Not with
discussion.
me.
So that's
This
the
is a
conversation.
discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, this is a discussion that needed to be happen before you pull out a ring.
Oh yeah, you don't pull it out until you have the discussion.
but like this is a DTR. This is like a advanced level DTR.
Well,
Yeah.
and it could be that if the killers hadn't shown up, maybe they would have had that conversation later on the night. They
Those
just hadn't
killers
yet.
just ruin everything.
I know, man.
They just ruin
I
everything.
think she hired them to kill him.
She does
She does
live.
survive.
Oh my God, Liv Tyler didn't know how to break up with him.
It's called
so she had
elevated
him murdered,
ghosting.
She texted them from her phone.
and then she threw it in the fire.
Yes.
This honestly makes sense to me.
Do you like it now better?
Honestly, I love it because it makes
No,
sense to me.
I've got more. He goes to the store that she sent him on an errand on.
Yes. Yeah.
So they prepared the
and she had
property.
cigarettes later.
Yeah.
She didn't run out of cigarettes. Oh my God. She's in on it, guys.
Yeah.
I love this movie all of a sudden.
Right?
Oh my
It's your
God.
favorite movie?
This is the best.
I mean-
She sent him out to get cigarettes.
Yeah.
They prepared the property on
They
the traps.
did.
Yeah.
All she had to do was act scared the whole time.
Yeah.
gaslight him
Yes.
into getting murdered. I love this.
Oh, you know what we forgot to talk about though is
The
the
movie?
beginning when we're seeing the two not Mormon kids because they're walking into this open
Oh
house.
shit! Yeah, we forgot the
Yeah.
flashback. Yeah.
But we hear a 911 call, and we're hearing that they found people and there's blood everywhere.
Yes.
And now we cut back to what we've already talked about. We just couldn't wait to talk about this relationship dynamic, so we skipped ahead.
I feel like we've talked about that
We have.
relationship dynamic.
Yep.
And that 100% Liv Tyler set all this up to kill her boyfriend.
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Yeah. It's got to be.
Sometimes it's just easier than hard conversations. you
Oh
know?
man, no, absolutely not. Listen, having dated 2 separate women who decided to cheat on me rather than have a hard conversation, just have the hard conversation.
She didn't cheat on him.
It's much better. I guess that's fair. She just had him murdered.
That's true. So as they're being sad and she's taking a sad bath, he is calling his friend Mike.
Yes.
And saying, hey,
It didn't go well.
It didn't go well. Can you come pick me up?
Come get me in the morning. I know you're drunk. Yeah.
Yeah. And imagining that Mike's going to be there in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So while she's taking a sad bath, he sits down and eats some sad ice cream at their happy romantic
He gets
dinner.
Bluebell. Delicious looking Bluebell
Well,
ice
he
cream.
just had blue balls. So
Right.
now he's got some
It was
Bluebell.
the only thing. Yeah.
Oh, and he puts on a creepy record.
Yes. Yeah. The creepiest records in this. It's like old timey creepy country music.
I honestly thought this whole movie took place in the 70s until they pulled out their cell phones.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that puts it in modern-ish times.
And so the reason for that is because of this story that, like, when he was a child, the story of the person that
Oh, yeah, when
knocked,
someone knocked on his door once when
he
was
was
a
in the
kid.
70s. Yeah. And so he, like, decorated the house. He wanted the house to be decorated in the style of the 70s, but it's not in the 70s. And I think I would like the movie better if the cell phone element wasn't there, because
Me
then
too.
that would be a much easier reason
Yeah.
for them not to have called the police.
Yeah, because Mike's cell phone was on the floor for half of the movie and no one thinks to use it.
Right. And the only thing in this movie that it has even anything to do with present day is the cell phones. So she sits down to talk and they're having kind of like awkward talk.
He's
and
solemnly eating ice cream with red wine, looking
well, and they
sad.
open their champagne and
Yeah.
they're both kind of drinking it like they just don't care because they're not pouring it in glasses. And he's trying to give her the ring. And like,
Yeah.
no, you can't give her the ring. She can't
No,
take
what he's
it.
trying to do is guilt her into marrying him.
Yes.
Because he's not a good dude.
I can't take it back. I can't return it. Yes, you can. And she can't. There's no way she could take that ring.
Honestly, even if you can't return it,
You could pawn it.
exactly.
She wants to talk a little bit more, but he doesn't. And I do get the feeling that she does want to continue the relationship.
Me too.
Yeah.
And she wants to have a conversation about it.
And I think he's just kind of butthurt about
He
it.
is
too.
super
Which
sad,
I can
yeah.
understand.
He
maybe.
says, I'm really embarrassed.
Yeah, and I understand,
Which
especially
is-
since he set up all this lavish sex house.
I
you
would
know?
honestly be embarrassed too.
I mean, I would be upset.
But so now they start dancing and they're kissing and they're starting to kind of hook up. So as they're kind of kissing and about to get down, somebody knocks on the door. And it's these big, like, double wooden doors with no peephole that I actually really like. I think that's cool imagery. So he goes open and he opens the door, which you should never do. There's a blonde girl and we don't see her face. And that is one of the things I like about this movie is we never see any of their faces because the porch light is out.
This is why I never take a girl back to my place.
Because your porch lights are always out or
No,
because
just
you don't
'cause
want to see their faces?
I don't want them to ever know where I live.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Ugh, Mikey is single, ladies.
But so she asks, is Tamara home? Tamara's not home because she doesn't live
She doesn't
there.
live there, yeah.
Right, right. And so she just kind of stares at him for a second. And that I do think is creepy too.
It is creepy,
And
yeah.
then she says, I'll see you later. And
Yes.
walks away, which is creepy. And then he screws the porch light in.
He actually
because-
turns it the wrong way, though. Yeah, he turns it left. You would turn it
I'm
right.
really good at the suspension of disbelief. You're the worst.
Todd is great at suspension of disbelief for musicals.
Yes.
Because that's where you really need it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you got tuberculosis, but you can belt that song.
Hell yeah.
Sure. It's fine.
Who gets tuberculosis in a musical?
It's Tombstone, the musical, Mikey.
A lot
oh,
more
I would
people.
go. I would so go. I'm
Hell
your
yeah.
Huckleberry.
Aw. We got the first 30 scores of
I
it.
love it. I love it.
You
Someone
know-
call Val Kilmer.
So then we pan out and we see the trees, and it's like real flat land, but there are just like very
There's
developed
like four
trees.
trees.
Right,
There's
right,
like
but
four
it's-
tall trees.
It's creepy because it's like the impression of the woods, but you can still see enough to like see people off in the distance. I think the atmosphere of this house is really creepy.
That's
to
not
me.
the woods. It's just like a front yard with four trees in it.
Right, but I
Yeah.
think maybe it's adjacent to woods or something because
I
there
think it's
are a lot
wood
of mature
adjacent.
trees. And so as we're kind of panning out and seeing these trees, we hear footsteps.
Yes.
But we don't see anything.
Footsteps on pavement.
Right. And one of the things I really like about this movie is the sound design for the first 45 minutes. I like how we
Okay.
keep hearing a lot of banging, and I imagine seeing this in a studio and hearing it coming from lots of different directions.
I think you're onto something. I think this movie is pretty scary until he gets back from the store.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, for me is I just am tired of it. By the time it gets to the end, there's so much banging going around. It's just too much,
Yeah.
you know. And I've been hearing it for an hour.
Winky blinky.
All I heard was if there's been banging going on for over an hour,
I'm just
Jen's tired of it.
Yeah.
You know, we've been to a show and I have a headache.
Listen, let's
you
just
know?
get it done.
What did you do? Snort meth? Let's get this over with.
Does snorting meth make you last longer?
yeah.
I got to talk to my dealer.
Does it?
Yeah. I mean, I only know that from work, but like it's meth. Don't do meth.
So they're back inside and they're still sad, and she's out of cigarettes. And so
No, she's not.
She claims to
She
be out of
claims to be out of
cigarettes.
cigarettes.
Yeah, she's not. She's setting up Jim.
Although, look, you don't want to run out of cigarettes. If you are a smoker and you see that last one, that's when you know you need to go get more. And I would argue last 3. That's when you need to go get more.
Well, spoken like a former smoker.
Honestly, if I was a guy and just proposed and she said no and we're not talking about it, and then she's like, I'm out of cigarettes, I would be like, I'll see you later.
Yeah, you should get space. I mean, I'm not saying that she is asking for space because she's not.
She's not, and
But
she's not
he
even really
needs
asking.
space.
No
And
one's
that's what he
communicating
says.
anything, which
Well,
is the problem.
But that's what he says.
It
He's-
is.
because she's
Right.
like, no, you don't have to. I'm just saying it.
And he's like, I just
no,
wanna go for a drive
I need
anyway.
to get a drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just need to be apart for a little bit.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I don't think I would spend the night with her that night.
I would not either.
Well, and I don't think if they had another option, and I mean, you say hotels exist, but I mean, he's trying to get
He called Mike to pick him up.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. He's put that into motion, and if he doesn't have to pay for a hotel, it's just waiting a couple of hours, then I would do that. That's easier and cheaper.
But that's something they should have talked about at the reception parking lot. I mean, like, you take the car.
yeah, go to my dad's summer home.
Yeah, I'll stay with Mike. There's an
Yeah.
open bar here.
Absolutely.
I'm getting obliterated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are plenty of the bridesmaids here.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'll take the one in the green dress, please.
Mikey, have you ever been single at a wedding?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Every time I go single to a wedding, fun stuff happens.
Same.
Wedding Crashers is like pretty much truth. It's pretty much a documentary.
I hope to never be single again, but if I am, we're going to weddings.
But going to weddings with a date is also really fun.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And end the same way normally.
In sadness.
In a DTR conversation.
Well, so before he goes to get her cigarettes, he lights a fire in the fireplace.
Yes.
Yes. And sits right in front of it, just begging for his back to catch on fire.
Yeah, take it from a guy who wears a lot of layers. He would be sweating a lot.
And so he goes outside and he sad drinks his bottle of champagne and then just tosses it into the
I
yard.
like Todd's like, I'm just going to get really drunk before I drive to go get
Yeah,
cigarettes.
that's what he did. He got
Yeah.
shit-faced and then drove.
And so she sits right next to the fireplace and she's like pulling her hair back and kind of living free because she's being alone in the house. But so she puts the ring on her finger and Todd called it like
Of
it
course.
gets stuck. Yeah.
Of course it gets stuck.
So he comes back later and she just holds it up in front of the door and she says, surprise. I said yes because I can't get it off. That didn't happen.
No, it
but
didn't. But
that's
she
what
does,
she's going to have to do.
She does show it to him many times
She
when they're
does.
running about the place.
Right.
And they never talk about it.
No.
They don't talk about anything.
I know, but she needs to have the conversation of, I didn't change my mind. This just got stuck on my finger. We're still not getting married. He dies thinking they're engaged.
Right.
Not knowing that she hired people to murder him.
Well, she wanted him to die happy.
Yeah.
That's her send-off to
She
him.
could have either murdered him or made him go like sad, go get a pan of Crisco to get it off her finger.
That's fair.
Which one's worse?
Murder was the only
Murder was
option.
I
the
think
only one.
so, yeah.
She's
'Cause-
like, aren't you happy? Bye. And then the family won't ask for the ring back.
Oh, it's
That's
a
true.
win-win.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to worry about being ashamed that he asked a girl to marry him and said no, and then she gets to keep the ring.
So she wanders around and plays some notes on the piano. So it's a little bit of note shadowing.
Yes. She actually just plays a scale down, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like she's about to scale down by killing her husband.
Potential fiance.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Maybe fiance. Because if you put the ring on, you are automatically engaged.
Is
and
that true?
contract is binding.
Ah.
Yes.
She had to kill him then, is what you're saying.
She did.
Because she couldn't get the ring off, Mikey.
Well, that makes sense.
I like how we are no longer wondering if she was involved in
It's
killing
canon
him.
now.
It is 100% she was involved.
I mean, it makes the movie better.
It honestly is the only way it's watchable.
I don't know if I'd agree with that, but I do think it makes it more fun to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so she's drinking Corona, and she's
Oh
kind
my
of,
God. Does she have it?
No.
Guys, you're allowed to eat Chinese food and drink Coronas.
Yes, and so she's wandering in the house, and she's seeing like the height markings on the door, and then she hears a knock on the door again.
Yes.
But so she walks up and she says, hello? Which,
Yeah, because someone's knocking at the door.
No, okay, if somebody rings your doorbell or knocks on your door and you can't see who it is and it's not an evil person, never acknowledge it.
No,
No.
I would just call the police.
But so she asks if Tamara's home again, and she's saying, you already said that. You already asked me, and the girl is saying, are you sure? And we never see see who this person is. We just hear the voice from
But
the
it
other
sounds like
side.
the same girl from before when Jim opened the door
Right.
for her. Yeah.
But so she locks the door and she is starting to get visibly more creeped out. And then she notices that smoke is filling the house. She goes over and she tries to open the flue to the fireplace.
Because the flue is now closed, but it wasn't closed before.
Right. So when we're thinking about this, like we know somebody is in the house at this point or has been in.
Well, and then they show themselves pretty quickly. Like,
Mm-hmm. And so we hear another knock at the door and then loud banging. And then she goes over and she realizes that her phone is dead.
Yeah.
But she plugs it in. But we'll see later that she had a landline that she could have called the police with.
Yeah.
Always keep your cell phone charged. Always.
Well, yeah.
Who are these people that let their cell phones die?
I do like that they weren't like searching around to get bars because that's something that bugs me in movies around.
Yeah,
this
all those
time.
cliches. I like it when the cops just come and they get murdered because then you're like, I am so screwed.
Like in Hush.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense because the cops would come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and so that's one of the things that horror has struggled with the invention of cell phones is how to make it believable, but that the person could not just call the police. And I think there are some movies that do it very well, like the cops do show up and get killed. And I don't think this movie does it well. I don't think this movie answers the question of why they couldn't call the police well. I suppose that is one of the biggest things that took you guys out of this movie is that why didn't they just call the police? You know?
Yeah.
And if they had answered that question effectively, I think the movie is a lot more believable.
I think so too.
Because I think you can excuse some of the other things. Yeah. So she plugs her phone in but does not call the police. But she's visibly scared at this point. But she does call James.
She immediately runs to the house phone.
Here's another thing that doesn't make sense. She plugs in her phone to be charged in the living room, but goes to the bedroom, shuts the bedroom door to call on the landline there. I would have closed up shop, barricaded the bedroom.
Yeah, and
charged
called
my
the
phone,
cops.
Called the cops, and then James.
Yeah.
Like, be careful coming home because there's people making noise outside trying to break in. There's definitely more than one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if this is actually what she says. Does she? But she asks.
No, she says the girl's back.
Oh, yeah.
And it's freaking me out. She's like, won't go away.
And so I could see if I were James too, I could see excusing that as this is not necessary to call the police until the phone gets cut and she just hangs up, you know, because they hadn't said goodbye.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because
so he
at
knows.
this point, James could still call the police.
And should have called the police.
Yeah, because if your girlfriend's like, someone's outside, it's really freaking me out, and then the phone line's cut, you call her back, there's no answer, and it says this line's been disconnected or whatever, you obviously call the police.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Or
I just
at
realized that.
Yeah, that's what
operate
bothered me
with
so
caution.
much about this movie.
Well, he doesn't
Everyone does the opposite of what anyone would actually
This
do.
is why she murdered him, because he didn't care that she was getting murdered.
100% Liv Tyler is responsible for killing her boyfriend in this movie.
So she's smoking and then she's wandering around and she's kind of just looking around the house. And this is when we see the man in the mask just kind of walk into the doorway and stand.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's the Iron Mask.
Oh,
the Iron Mask. This is the sack mask.
I'm starting with the man in the sack mask.
Ooh, ooh.
I'm asking him to get out of my house.
He looks like Oogie Boogie.
He does sort of look like Oogie Boogie. You're right.
Okay, so Oogie Boogie is standing.
Oh, God. We can't call him Oogie
He
Boogie.
breathes like Oogie Boogie, too.
He does,
He
yeah.
does. So we'll call him the man in the mask because that's what he's.
Oogie Boogie.
No, I think that's what he's billed as. And it's this really creepy sack mask.
You mean Liv Tyler's actual boyfriend?
Who's her actual boyfriend?
The guy in the mask.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they had actually taken the relationship the next step yet. He had to prove his love to her by
That's what it is,
murdering
yeah.
Scott Speedman.
I would murder someone for Liv Tyler.
But I do really like his mask because it's like it looks like the Town That Dreaded Sundown mask, and it's got like kind of a painted face but eyes cut in, and it's just a sack over his head. And he's
It really
wearing-
is just eyes cut and then a painted mouth.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
creepy. It's creepy.
And he's kind
It
of
is
wearing a
creepy.
suit, and I think that is really effective. I
Yeah,
think it's
he's
really
wearing
creepy.
a suit because he came from the wedding. He is a close family friend, and Liv Tyler and him started hooking up.
It's his brother.
And they, he was taller. Oh my God. Oh my God. We
And he
figured
knew
this
exactly
out.
where the axe was.
Yeah.
And he knows his way around the house.
Oh, my
'cause
God.
It's his dad's summer home too.
He dug that trench last week.
Because he knows where the shovel is, too.
Oh my
Yes.
God. This
Yeah.
honestly, if we
You like
had
him in-
directed this movie, it would have been so much better.
This is like the Todd and Mikey
Oh, my
versus
God.
the Strangers.
It honestly would have been a good movie.
Can you imagine if he figured that out throughout the movie? Like, so he's not a great dude, but like,
Man.
but then he's like, oh my God, I treated her bad, but she's having an affair with my brother. Not an affair, but like cheating on me with my brother. And then like, they're trying to kill me now?
Yeah, would have been so good. And then he kills both of them, and he's the final guy.
Yes!
We don't need a final guy.
I love this. Oh, you got Corey
Can we
Feldman,
just
and that
have
was
one
enough.
thing?
I do love that we now know definitively that Liv Tyler's character was having sex with Jim's brother and forced Jim's brother to kill Jim.
Yeah.
I love this.
She manipulated. She didn't force. She made him think it was his choice.
Right.
And we're kidding. Like
No, we're not.
Nah,
It
I'm
would
not
be a
kidding.
much
Yeah.
better movie if this was true.
I mean, none of it is true. So whatever we want to be true can be true.
Yeah, the only thing that is true is someone knocked on this guy's house when he was a kid and it creeped him out.
Anyways, so she's smoking, and the man in the mask comes and stands right behind. And I love that it's not a jump scare, but it's one of the
Yeah,
creepiest
it is
moments.
creepy.
He just smells her. It's like a hello.
Right.
And then she turns around and he's gone because he
Well,
can disapparate.
But what I like is that he stands there for quite a while,
Yeah.
and he doesn't jump out. He just kind of walks in, and he's inside the house.
Yeah.
It's not looking through a
Well, because he
mirror.
has keys to the house. Because he's Jim's
He's
older
the brother.
And she definitely saw him when she turned around, but she's not scared because
Right.
that's what
Right.
she expected to happen.
She's into it.
Yeah, they use the mask outside of murder
I'm
role
sure
plays
they
too.
do.
Yeah.
So she walks over to the window, and she's looking out, and then she hears more knocking.
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at this point, she gets a knife, and she walks over to the piano where the guy was standing, and he's not there anymore.
No, he's disapparated.
Right, exactly. But what she notices is that the smoke alarm is no longer on the floor.
Right,
It's
it's
been
in the
placed
chair.
on the chair.
Yeah.
And she knows that she didn't do that.
And we also saw every moment that the masked man was in that front room, we saw. He was just standing there.
Yeah.
So we know he didn't put the smoke detector on that because we saw every moment he was in that room.
Right.
So who put it there?
Her ride or die bitches.
Yeah. So now she's hearing a lot of banging noises. We don't really know what it is, but it's not knocking anymore. It's escalated from that.
Yes, it definitely has escalated.
And so she goes over to sit by where her phone was, but she sees that her phone's not there anymore. And then she hears the wind chimes outside.
yeah, it sounds like they're just out there smacking it with their hand.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And she also is hearing like moving patio furniture and just menacing noises from outside. And so she goes to the window really, really slowly.
Yes.
And this is one of the scenes where if it didn't happen 20 times, is really effective,
yeah,
you know?
but it happens 90 times in this movie.
Right. But this is, I think, the most effective. So
I think
she
so
goes
too,
and
because she
pushes-
opens the thing, right?
And his face,
Yeah,
the
he's right
masked
there.
face, is right there.
That was very scary.
Yeah, and I just feel like the movie never really escalates past that until the very end, and that's why it frustrates me. Anyways, so she sees his face is right there, and so she screams, and then the record player starts playing.
Right.
So
well, doesn't she bump into it?
I think she
bumps
does.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she bumps
So then
into it.
they're playing the record that the demon played on Conjuring.
Yeah, like don't ever play these creepy sounds. I think it's Insidious is the song you're thinking of. Yeah.
And this is after she talked to him on the phone, right? So she
Yeah.
turned the record on to signal to them that he's on the way back.
No, she bumped into the record player. It started when she.
That's what she
bumped
wants you
into
to
it.
think. She plays it so
Oh,
they
I
know
see what's
outside
happening.
I
Yeah,
got
he's
it.
coming back.
This is the Mikey cut of
Right.
the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense to me.
yeah. But it's like skipping, and it's just playing the same.
Well, because she
like-
bumped it. Yeah, it
right,
scratched,
exactly.
sure.
But that's really unsettling.
It is
and
very
this
unsettling.
This sequence in the movie, I think, is the most effective and most scary because she is this. It's like really loud noises. She notices that the front door opens a crack, and she goes and looks, and then there's a girl's mask.
Yeah,
that's
that was
right
also a little
there.
scary too.
Yeah. And so then she runs into the bedroom, and
Well, she closes and locks the door and then runs into the bedroom. But
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah. And she's starting to hear banging coming from everywhere. And she pulls, I guess, trying to turn the lamp off. Although, why would you want to be in darkness? They already know you're in the house.
Because they were outside her window, and she thought by turning the lamp off that they would think that she wasn't in that room, I guess.
But, like, the lamp was already on. It's not like she walked into the
Yeah.
room and turned it on.
I know. It's almost
Right.
like it's a,
Also, she didn't turn it off. She destroyed it.
no, she didn't destroy it. You see her slam the lamp against the ground. It does not break, and then it immediately cuts to the ground where there is already broken glass.
And then she cuts
that's
her
when she
hand.
cuts her hand.
Because
which
she
is not a way you
needs
can cut your hand.
To look like she goes wounded.
Oh, and they stab her at the end. Because,
yeah, but she needs
yeah,
more than that.
Exactly.
So she can
exactly.
get away with killing him.
Yeah, and
Mikey
she
cut.
definitely got away with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then the music stops and she hears footsteps coming and it's pretty menacing. But then it turns out it's Scott Speedman who's back from getting her cigarettes.
Yeah, it's the evil boyfriend.
He's
who's
like,
back.
what are you like freaking out about or whatever?
Right. And
Yeah.
this is the one thing, like we're talking about him being a bad guy. I don't think he's that bad of a guy, but this is the one thing that I don't like is that he doesn't believe her. So she says she saw a man in black wearing a mask. And so, of course, he's like, okay, well, I don't believe you, so I'm going to go look and put myself in extreme risk. And so he goes and looks out in the hall and says, see, there's nobody there. Like, why are you crazy?
Yeah,
and
stupid.
Exactly. And he's not saying it that bluntly, but
he might as well be.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that really bugs me about
It's not like no one knocked on the door earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he saw
and
that.
he was there for that.
So they go and look in all the rooms, but he's not really turning the lights on, and it's pretty
No, because he's an
creepy.
idiot.
Yeah, and we see her phone on the fire. I don't
Yes.
know if she ever sees it there. They don't acknowledge
No,
that
because
she
she
ever
always
does.
says that they took it. They
Yeah.
took it.
Mhm.
Which they did.
They
It's
did,
not
yeah.
untrue. And she just hasn't realized that they put it in the fire.
Right, yeah. And so she's looking out the window, and now we see the girl in the mask
Yes.
who's staring, like maybe 50 yards away, just kind of staring at the house. And he sees it too. So now he knows this threat is
Yep.
real because it's the same girl, I mean, we assume, with a mask on. Like, that's not a normal thing that would happen.
No,
like,
absolutely
that's not
not.
excusable by, like, she's
Just general
looking-
behavior.
Yeah, but
But this is when he decides, oh, my phone's in my car. I gotta go get my phone.
Why didn't you bring your fucking phone
I mean,
in?
at least they attempted to explain why he didn't call someone immediately.
Right, that's true.
I mean, it was a bad attempt, and they should have done that, I don't know, 30 minutes ago in the movie, but
Yeah.
whatever. At least they tried.
That's the momentary reason that he doesn't
yes.
call.
And then he's like, I gotta go to my car.
While he's looking at this girl, before he says, oh, my phone's in my car, I'm going to go outside where that creepy girl is, he's like, oh, should I go talk to her? Fuck no, she's standing in the middle of a deserted road with a fucking mask on, just staring at your house.
I think when you said deserted road, you meant subdivision, but yeah.
But, I mean, still, like, I don't go outside after dark. Fuck that.
Not now. Now that we live in post-apocalyptic
Well,
America.
that's true, yeah.
Quarantine, baby.
All right, so he goes outside to get his phone.
So he forgets his phone after she calls upset saying someone's outside
Yeah.
and the line's cut.
It's real stupid, Mikey.
Yeah. He goes outside and we see his car's all smashed up.
Yeah,
And the
which you would have heard happening.
Yeah, I guess if they had done it while the loud records were playing or something. But I mean, he hasn't been back in the house that long.
No, he's the one that turned the loud records off. So he
Well,
got
the
there.
glass might be broken from his drunk driving.
That could be true.
That's true.
In all fairness, Mikey, he might have done that damage himself. We don't know. We
The
do know
tires
he
are
was driving
slashed,
drunk.
and
Yes.
that could be done silently.
That is 100% true.
So as he's looking through his car and trying to find his phone, I guess, a hand creeps right
I
up
hated
to his
this
shoulder.
so much.
This was what I will agree with you on this one because this one did bug me.
Yeah, this is the moment in the movie I was like not scared anymore for the rest of it. I was scared
Right.
of some things, and there was a jump scare later in the movie that got me. But from this moment on, I was like, oh, it's just like make believe. Like none of this could ever happen ever this way, so it
Right,
doesn't matter.
Because we see a hand go right up and almost
And he's
touch his
deep
shoulder.
in his car.
He is.
He
yeah.
is like all the way in the passenger seat, and a hand is like reaching and touches him, and then he immediately spins around, and there's no one there.
Right. And I thought it was going to be Liv Tyler at first
Me
because
too.
of how far he is. And I was like, oh, that's how they'll explain without having to deal with her being right
and
there.
that would have been like a good directing choice.
Right. But
yeah.
she just disappears. Or he, like, we don't know who it is.
That was
And
definitely a woman's
There's
hand.
no. She could have ducked real quick so he couldn't see her, but she would have still had to be hiding by the tires and she would have had to get away at some point. And we just don't hear or see
No,
anybody running away from the car.
He turns around and gets out immediately.
Right,
So even if
exactly.
we heard someone running away, he would see them
He
running away.
would,
And we
yes.
would see them running
or
away.
at least hear.
Yes.
Especially since we've heard footsteps from like across the yard.
I think we did
Right.
hear footsteps at that moment. We
Yeah.
may have heard footsteps, but we would have seen it. And honestly, that would have been creepier to me.
I think so, too.
If we saw a woman in a mask running away. So they just chose to show that they can disapparate? Question
Yeah.
mark?
There are quite a few times
I
where
laughed. I like chuckled to myself. I was like, this is bad.
It's like a ghost thing.
Yeah.
Like that hand.
I think I
reaching
even
up,
said-
that's a
thought they were
thing.
ghosts.
I even
Yeah.
said, at this point, they're ghosts. I think a little bit later when something like this happens again, I was like, okay, Liv Tyler has to be going crazy.
Yeah.
And she's actually doing all of these
She's
things.
like the Tyler Durden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or none of this makes sense, but she isn't going crazy.
Right.
The only thing that makes sense that I didn't think of in the moment is that she is in on it and trying to kill her boyfriend.
Right.
Because she's sleeping with his brother. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense at this
That
point.
makes sense to me.
But even that doesn't explain how they can disapparate.
Right. And this isn't the only time that happens.
No, it happens a lot.
Yeah, this is just the most blatant.
Yes.
And this is one of the ones that I will give you because there are a lot of things that I think you guys have problems with that I don't, and this is one of the ones I agree with you
it's
on.
bad.
Okay, then he sees her with a mask on standing in the road. He tells her to get the fuck out of there, and then we see another one running like past him, like maybe 25 yards away.
Like in a tree line.
Yeah. And that creeped me out a little bit.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
significantly
scary.
creepy.
Yeah. And now at this point, because I think that's where he can no longer say that this isn't menacing.
And the other girl disappears.
Yes.
But not until Liv Tyler comes out and diverts his attention so that she can get away. More proof that she is helping them kill him.
Yeah, because he does tell her to get back in the house.
Yes.
She's a delicate woman and can't handle hard stuff, apparently. And then looks back and she's gone.
bet
I
she
like a
handles-
woman who can handle
That's
hard
smart.
stuff.
So I was about to make that same joke. Hell
There you
yeah.
go.
All right. So he walks down the road and he's looking around at the woods. And this part creeped me out just because I don't like being outside after dark.
Or at all. You're wearing your indoorsy sweater again. It literally says indoorsy on it.
I do like being outside, but in very specific times and places.
I like being outside when I'm like in a movie theater watching a movie.
Okay, so he's standing outside the front door and he kind of leans in and it's like this jump scare, but it's kind of a cheap one because it's her. And she's kind of pulling him in and he's saying there's no one else around. And this is when I do think they establish that there's no neighbors around and that maybe these are all like hunting lodges that nobody actually lives in, you know? So he says there's no one else around. It's just them and us. And this is when he's bandaging his hand with his tie.
I think he's bandaging her hand with his tie.
Her hand with his tie, yeah, because apparently she had cut her hand on the lamp, which I didn't notice earlier.
Yeah, but then he doesn't think it needs help until he believes her about what's happening.
Right, exactly. It's not, well, maybe the cut doesn't exist until they sit down, you know, because it's gone later. Like she doesn't have that tie wrapped around her hand anymore.
Well, because she's in on it.
I mean,
True. Maybe she has.
and in the next scene, he's wearing his tie again. There's all kind of really bad continuity errors in this movie. Like, it's not good.
I agree. So he sees his phone and he's like, oh, I guess it wasn't in the car. Well, he knows that it wasn't in the car, but the battery is gone.
No, I think he knows that they put it there.
Right.
Yeah, but the
And-
battery is gone, so he can't use it.
So he's saying, okay, we have to get out of here. And so they go to the busted car and they start backing up. But the tires are like pretty
They are.
slashed.
You can
Yeah.
still drive on bald or broken tires enough to get to safety.
Now-
in this situation, you drive on rims
He
to
didn't drive
get
at
to
all.
safety.
He didn't drive at all.
No, he drove until someone smashed his trunk, and then he got out like he was going to switch information with them.
If someone's trying to murder me, I'm driving until that car blows up.
Yeah, exactly. But no,
True.
he gets rear-ended, and he's like, "Oh, my trunk! I can't drive without my trunk.
Right.
You know what
would've
you can drive with?
Put it in the gas. I was just like,
Yes.
you got to get the fuck
You
out of here.
step on it. Yeah.
Now, okay, part of like when there are things like this that happen in movies, I think there's an element of like, would you actually be able to hit somebody hard enough to kill them? But they're in a fucking car. Like they could easily drive away.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And they should have driven away.
Right.
Their car he has to turn his car off to get out of it.
Whereas I could see there's a point where she has a knife and I could see her being afraid to stab the girl.
Or struggle
because
with
that's
that.
a hard thing to do.
Or that she's in on it, doesn't want to hurt them.
Well, yeah. But I mean, when you're in a car and you could just drive away, this is the point where it takes me out that they don't because they
Yeah.
go back in the house.
Yeah.
They're in a vehicle that could have gotten them away. Now, because the truck smashes them, but they don't try to gun it and drive around.
Right.
They
And they
just
easily
drive
could.
forward.
And the truck hits him not in the front. If the truck hit him in the front and stopped, I'd been like, oh, they can't get anywhere.
Now, what they should have done is they should have, instead of like destroying the car, they should have like made it so that they made it inoperable. Like they took the distributor cap or whatever that made it, or like cut the ignition.
Yeah.
So that there's
Yeah.
nothing they could have done. But by presenting the fact that they could drive this car, it frustrates me that they didn't.
Yeah.
You know?
And
I
they
think-
don't answer why.
Exactly.
They just get out and go back into the
and
house.
run back in the house. Yeah.
Now is when they get the gun, right?
This is when they get the gun. But so he gets the rifle from the top shelf, and then they go to the bedroom and they open the window.
Shotgun.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, shotgun. So they go to the bedroom window and they open it and they see hello written all over the window, which
Yeah.
is ominous. But then there's banging on the windows. And I didn't know if this was like them shooting with paintballs or like throwing things at the window.
It was
Mud
paintballs.
clods.
Yeah.
I think it was paintballs.
You think so? Like somebody
You think
took
that a paintball gun? I thought it was mud clots.
Yeah, it could have been paintballs or I guess handfuls of feces. I don't know what a mud clot is.
I mean,
but
it was the faux 70s, so
Yeah.
who knows? You know, it was a different time. All right.
But their hands are always clean.
Well,
Yeah,
because
so
you wash
paintball
for
gun.
20 seconds. because his father is kind of safe, he doesn't store his gun loaded.
Right.
He stores his bullets in a separate location, although neither of them are secured. But so he has to go find the shells for the shotgun, and he finally finds them in the closet. And this is when we find out he doesn't really know how to use this gun.
I thought you went hunting with your dad. Oh, I just said that.
Right. And this is one of the things that I do kind of like about this movie, because if I was trying to defend myself and found a shotgun, I would have no fucking clue what to do with that shotgun.
I'd fucking figure it out.
Well, that's true. I would try to figure it out, but he does figure it out. So as they're looking for bullets, she puts bullets in his pocket, and I thought that was going to come back, but it never does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so he figures the gun out, and they try to get through the front door.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, because the man in the mask is literally axing the front door like
he's
the
shining
Shining.
his way.
He's
through.
shining through
And
the
this
door.
was directly inspired by that.
Well,
which-
yeah, no
I mean,
shit.
yeah.
And then they push
Exactly.
the piano against the door.
So he fires a shot, and his brother's like, "Oh my god, he found the gun."
Yeah.
He knows how to use it. He's become a gun aware.
Yes.
The mask face man doesn't get got.
No. He disappears.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they go in, and this I
This
think
is a smart plan.
I was just going to say that this is one of their smarter plans. He takes the shotgun and they just hunker down, and they're like, we're just going to wait this
Yeah,
shit
Because it
out.
looked like the bedroom didn't really have
Right.
windows, or like it wouldn't. It was only one access point. He has a
Right.
shotgun.
Mhm.
He's like, "We'll just hold up here, and if he comes, I'll just kill him."
So they're starting to hear footsteps walking through the hall. And this is a pretty tense scene, too, just because of what we don't hear. And then the country music starts playing really loudly. And then we see Dennis pull up, and I love him. And I wish he was in this movie for longer. And so Dennis we're talking about is Dennis from
Always Sunny. Yeah.
It's Glenn Howerton, Dennis from It's Always Sunny, him of the Dennis system.
Yeah, Mikey
fame.
pulls up. He's like, "Hey, I'm here early. I heard you upset, so I just wanted to help you out.
Yeah,
I
he
came to
like
pick you up."
he's a great friend. He shows up early to pick him up. Yeah.
Right.
Trying to get him out of what could be a bad or awkward situation.
And because he has just called his friend, we know he has a functioning phone in his hand right then.
Yeah.
So he pulls up, and somebody shoots through the windshield of his car.
I thought they threw a brick through it or something.
Either way.
yes. But he's like, "Huh."
I
wonder what did
get
that.
out and investigate. And
So
this
he gets, and then he gets out, looks at the other car, which is destroyed.
Yeah, his
and the
friend's
front door's
car.
open. Yeah,
It's not just the other car, it's the Ford pickup truck, too.
yeah, and the front door's open.
Yeah.
So I would.
Not only open, busted open
Yeah.
with a big hole that someone shot a shotgun through.
Right.
So I would say I would have got back in the car and ran away very fast.
Yeah, this is
while
the,
calling the cops.
the most
Absolutely.
egregious use of not calling the cops in
Yeah.
this movie. Because why? I mean, yes, I could see him being drunk and going in to investigate and just making that stupid decision. But
But he's not. He doesn't sound drunk.
But he did, yeah. And you call the cops first. I could see him wanting to go investigate, but I do not believe that he wouldn't call the cops first
Right.
if he cared about his friend. Because what's he going to do? What's he going to do when he gets in there? The number one thing he can
He's
do
gonna
to
get
help his
shot in the
friend-
face, Jen.
Exactly. But the number one thing he could do is call the cops, and he doesn't.
He also doesn't ever say, "Hey guys, what's
Yeah,
going
hey,
on?
what's
Is everyone
up?"
okay in here?"
Right, right.
No,
Which,
he
if you
silently
think-
sneaks up to the room.
And if you think there's a threat in the house, I could understand not wanting to alert them to your presence, but he's not doing anything else to hide himself.
No,
he's just wandering
no.
around.
And
It's the
Jim's
dumbest
brother
thing.
is right behind him with an axe.
Okay, but so he's walking around and he's seeing all this fucked up shit that's happened. He's seeing a gigantic hole in the front door and a piano.
Yep.
And he keeps walking. And I do think this is creepy because we see the man with the mask right behind him, and he's slowly creeping behind him, and he starts to raise his axe. And Glenn Howerton has stopped, and he's like, it's all happening very slowly, and it's very suspenseful. And then he takes a step, and I think he's about to say hello.
He is. I
And
think he
then-
starts to say it, but gets shot in the face because he's stupid.
I mean, yeah, just so many choices he could have done differently.
Yeah,
So,
literally everything he did was the exact wrong thing to do.
And so what has happened is Jim has shot him
Yeah.
through
In
the head.
Yeah.
But at least he dropped his phone so they could then call the cops immediately.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Wait, he's in on it.
It was a suicide mission.
No, he had a squib.
On his head?
Yeah, she's the one who gave him all the shotgun shells.
He's got blanks?
Yeah.
He's shooting blanks?
Ooh. Now, look, we thought she was dead, and she's not. So maybe
Exactly.
he's faking his death the whole time, too. I mean, could
He
be.
is, clearly.
Listeners, that's the Mikey guy.
It's the dentist system.
It is the dentist system.
Well, that's why they weren't afraid of the gun, and that's why he didn't get shot. That's why the masked man didn't get hurt when he shot through the door.
Yeah, and that hole was made by the axe, not the shotgun.
Absolutely.
Boom.
Yeah, because we don't
nailed
ever
it.
see
We
the
don't-
shotgun. Yeah, and
Exactly.
he's not that good of a shot.
No.
He goes to see because he's like, why was he wearing a mask? Why wasn't he? Like, he knows something's up and he goes to like creep out and he sees that it's Dennis.
Yeah, and Michael in the movie.
Mike,
But
yeah.
he starts crying over
He sees that it's his friend.
Right.
But she wants to go look. And as she's going to look, he like attacks her and like knocks her down.
Pins
and
her
says,
down.
Don't look, your delicate eyes. Yeah, your fancy woman eyes can never come back from seeing the atrocities. It drove me crazy that he did this.
It held her down hard.
Yeah. It is
Almost like they were
aggressive.
role playing. Honestly, she could have just said the safe word and he would have let her up.
Well, that's true. But this is when we noticed that, one, she's not wearing the tie on her hand anymore.
Right.
And that she is still wearing that ring.
This is where she shows him that she's wearing the ring he bought her.
Yeah, she has finger signed the verbal contract.
Exactly.
The ring contract.
And now he has to die.
Yeah, so they have entered into a fellowship of the ring.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And she
This
can't
is
get out
directed
of
by
it.
Dodo Baggins.
Aw. But I like this because it's really sad. And I do, because he just killed his friend.
And you like this. You started the sentence with I like this.
I felt for them at this point because we see a couple of minutes of them just reacting, and this is just such a terrible thing that's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can imagine feeling really guilty about that because it was his best friend, and he knows, one, he shot him.
He invited him over.
I probably would have thought, oh my God, he was pranking me.
It's like Ashton Kutcher or something.
Yeah, like I
Uh-huh.
shot him, that he was the
Yeah.
one doing it.
When punked goes too far.
Right, because they were both wearing suits.
From the wedding?
I mean, even his asthmatic older brother's walking around in a
Right.
suit. Yeah.
That's true.
So what bothers me next is when he tells her to stay in the house. I'm going to go to the barn and call someone from the CB radio, and then you see him run across the backyard.
Fine, on flat surface.
Yeah.
Well, he creeps and he sits down next to a tree.
Sure, but at any point, did you see him jump over a big fucking trench?
I would have left her the gun.
No.
I would not have left her the gun. I would have brought her with me.
Yeah,
But I would not have left anyone without a weapon or
I
some
would have been
sort
like,
of
we're going to
protection.
take the shotgun and we're just going to walk down the street where there's street lights.
Yeah.
And I have
there
a
are
gun,
street lights.
And they don't have guns.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking, but I think that because there have been so many times where they should have called the police, I can't excuse this one anymore.
I can't either.
Like, why? And his plan is to go to find an old CB radio in
When
a
there's a
barn?
working cell phone next to his dead friend that he
Right,
killed.
and they
Yeah.
never acknowledged that,
Nope.
where the phone
That's a
went.
big risk for a CB that hasn't worked in like 20 years.
Exactly. All right. So he's hiding behind a tree and he sees the pinup girl, and her mask looks like a pinup girl, which is why I'm calling her that.
Right.
I mean, she's not bad looking.
We
She's
never
cute.
see her face.
I mean, butterface.
But so she's off in the distance, and as he's
With a flashlight.
Yes, and as he's looking at her, we see the man in the mask come running up to him, and I guess we're led to believe he like kicks him or something, but it cuts.
No, you
away
hear
from
the
him.
shotgun go off.
Oh, that he tried to shoot.
Yeah,
him?
and I do think he would have killed him if he wasn't shooting blanks. Because he had the shotgun and he had the guy dead to rights. The guy was running at him.
Right.
And a shotgun, you can have sort of bad aim and still hit somebody.
Well, he just killed his friend so quickly that he didn't even realize who
He
it was.
headshotted his friend.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his friend's squib went off and he's pretending to be dead. But yeah,
So she goes outside to try to find him, and this is one thing that pissed me off is she doesn't have shoes on. Like, why would you not put your fucking shoes on? He even mentions it to her at some
Yeah.
point. Like, it's likely that you're going to have to run outside at this point. You want your
I
fucking
think largely
shoes
it's
on.
because she knows she's in no real danger.
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
So now the man with the mask is inside the house, and she at this point is outside right next to the sliding glass door.
Yes.
And so he's walking up to the door that she's sitting outside of, and she hears his breathing, and it's really loud and raspy. And that was an odd choice. Like, we never find out. Like, it's like Darth Vader breathing. Like, I'm not exactly sure why.
More hay fever than Darth Vader, but yeah.
Well, because you keep putting sacks on your head.
Right.
Like hay sacks.
Come on.
So,
Figure
it's
it out.
gonna.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mostly just his signal to her that he's around.
So she knows that he's coming up to the door, and she starts to run. And I thought that she had gotten hit in the back with something.
Yeah.
Because she just
Because what
falls
happens is
out of
ridiculous.
the blue.
Yeah,
Falls into a trench.
In the 6 minutes it's been since Jim ran across the backyard, they've dug a 3 foot or 4 foot trench through the backyard.
And I was really trying to kind of excuse this and say, well, maybe it's just like a ditch that you might have in your yard. But like you would see that coming.
Yep.
And this is not like a logical place to have a ditch in your yard. So I just don't
No.
understand. And I don't see
It
a
also wasn't
logical
there
time.
4 minutes ago. What would have been cool is if it was a grave that they had been digging and he was already dead in the other one.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah. They don't ever explain why she just falls. It's almost like it's just a way to get her to have an injury.
It is.
So that she slows
Yeah, it's
down.
almost like she's just wanting to get injured. So when she's questioned, they believe her.
Injured. Yeah, because we see that she has hurt her leg, but we don't ever see anything more than it just is hurting. Like, it's not like in a lot of movies you'll see like a bone poking out, or it's like she'll like investigate it, you know? So we don't ever know exactly what this injury is.
And every other scene, she's limping after this.
Right. Now, there is one scene where she's not.
Yeah.
Because she's walked it off a little bit and she forgot. So she crawls out, but her leg is all fucked up. And so now she's like crawling along. So she's in the middle of the yard and we're starting to hear lots of banging, and she's trying to crawl back to the door. And one of the girls is right behind her with a knife, and then she disappears.
And then she just goes away. Because literally Liv Tyler rolls under her back, and now the girl's gone.
And why?
Because they can disapparate.
Trying to think, if this were my motivation as a killer, like, why would I how much do you want to fuck with this person, you know?
She wasn't fucking with her. Liv Tyler didn't see her at all. She has no idea that she was there.
Oh, you're right.
It is a movie where the killer knows it's a movie.
It's almost like the killer is existing to show these images that are scary without there being substance behind it. Because I do think it's scary sometimes when you see that the killer is right behind her, but there's not enough substance to make it like a lasting scare.
Like, at least in Hush, same kind of concept, but he was like, I want to see how freaked out I can make this person.
Right. And I think that Hush, and we talked about this movie in the Hush episode, because I think Hush it escalates it enough and it gives enough believability that it works. Because they're very similar stories in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but Hush is a much better film.
I think it just works better. And the continuity, I think they've planned out these steps a lot better.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so now her genius plan is to go find the radio that I guess she knows how to use too, because everybody knows how to use CB radios,
Yeah, it's
right?
the 70s, right?
Yeah. So except that it's not when we need cell phones to be in the story. Right. Okay, so she goes into the radio and we see that Scott or Jim is not there. And so she's trying to use the radio and it's really staticky and she starts to cry. And then she's hearing lots of footsteps and lots of banging. And she hears somebody say hello at some point. But this is when all of the banging started to get overwhelming.
And she drops the CB radio receiver and it falls over and then she backs away from it.
Exactly.
And then when it cuts back to her after showing nothing but, where the sounds are coming from, it cuts back to her and she's still very far away from the receiver, but now it's standing up.
Right.
And not falling over.
Because there's one point when the CB is working and she says, hello, help me.
Yes.
So she is alerting somebody.
Well, and that's
come back, buddy. I'm gonna
break
breaker 19.
You sound hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'll help you, baby.
I hope nobody hits that CB with an axe.
And that's what happens.
That is what happens.
Yeah.
And then the person who hits it with an axe just lets her run out of the barn, doesn't chase her, doesn't do
Right.
anything. They exist just to hit the CB radio with an axe, and they're like, I don't want to, I'm just going to hang out.
Right. And we cut to her just being in the middle of the yard.
Literally army crawling out of the barn.
Like, it might be the same cut as when she was out there before.
It probably was.
Yeah. And that was another thing that bugged me. So she's crawling back outside and she goes back to the house and she's seeing, as she's making her way, she sees the man in the mask in the yard, but then she gets back into the house.
But the man in the mask doesn't see her.
Right,
He
yeah.
starts walking back towards the house, and she sees that the Volvo is now on fire.
She does, yes. And she sees that the pinup girl is standing off in the distance.
Right.
And that the doll face girl is on the swing. And then she turns around, and I think this is when she sees the cars on fire, but then she looks back and they're all gone. They've disappeared again.
Yeah, they've disapparated.
Right. Okay, so she's hopping back into the house. She hops down the hall, and then the lights in the house go out. And this
Right.
was creepy, too. I like the aesthetic of this and the atmosphere here. She looks out the door, and she sees that it's open just a crack. And so she's creaking around this dark house, and this is when she hears the piano music. Yeah.
They hate that.
They hate
really...
Very Ghostbusters right here.
And this is a creepy thing, and they don't overuse this. I do think that's an effective, creepy thing. But she sees that the man with the mask is there, but he doesn't see her. So she goes and hides in the pantry, and he is just really wheezy at this point.
I like the scene because she's really quiet to get in the pantry and then immediately knocks over 7
Yeah, and then it
canned goods.
immediately
Right.
makes a bunch of noise.
I hate it.
So much so that he knows to come into the kitchen and just sit down and
Yeah,
then
he just
stand
sits
up
down.
again. But he sits down for no reason and then stands up for no reason.
Right, and it's...
Maybe he's tired.
I
He's
mean,
breathing
He
heavy.
is breathing heavy. That's true.
And he's wearing a suit. It's hard to run. It's hot.
It's a three-piece cage. And he's got the mask. So
You're not
four-piece
wearing the
cage.
right kind of suits, baby.
You got to wear them with buttons. And layers.
Got to layer up, Mike.
And
I don't
top
like layers.
hat.
I don't like layers at all.
And this is a pretty tense scene, I think. And
This is the one jump scare that got me.
Right.
Because we see him sit down, stand up, and then sort of walk away. And then from the other side, you see the other girl pop her head over and start attacking her through the pantry door. Not, I guess, realizing that she could just open the pantry door. Because
Right.
pantry doors don't lock from the inside.
Or at all.
It's a panic room pantry. Panic tree room.
This is, yeah.
And this scene, I think the jump scare did get me.
It got me too.
Yeah. And the scene where he's sitting at the table is really tense. And if I weren't just so exhausted with feeling tense throughout the movie, I think it would have been effective. But at this point, it's just we've been here for the last hour.
Yeah,
It doesn't elevate. You're right. It doesn't elevate the stakes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because A Quiet Place has like tense stuff throughout the whole film, but like
Yeah.
I don't
But
get
it moves
tired
the
of that.
story
Yeah.
along. Yeah. The
It's
only
like, oh, now she's just playing with the knife and like
right.
taunting her with the
and
knife.
now she's in the barn.
Well,
and, now she's
and
in
that's
the
sort of what
car.
happens next because she gets out of the pantry. The girl backs off from the pantry door who was attacking Liv Tyler, and Liv Tyler comes out of the pantry and grabs a smaller knife, and the other girl has the big knife in her
Yeah,
hand.
she's
Right.
like, that's a knife.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a knife.
You're going to need a bigger knife.
Yeah.
But she asks, why are you doing this to us? And I think the girl says, he's going to kill you.
Yes.
And so she hops into another room and she tries to get out the window and she's banging on it.
But this is ridiculous because she's banging on that window, and it never shows a reason for why she can't get out the window.
Right.
But she can't get out the window.
She just
can't.
wants to spread her fingerprints and stuff, more evidence.
I think that's what it is.
Maybe.
I mean, she's definitely the aggressor here.
Yeah.
She's the reason Jimmy has to die.
Well, because at this point, Jimmy has been Friday the 13th, part 4 style, thrown through the window. And the man with the mask has walked
Yes.
back in behind him.
Yeah.
So he's back in play because he had disappeared from the story.
Yeah,
for a
we thought
little
he
bit.
might have been dead.
Right, exactly. But he's not. He's just gotten got by the man with the mask. And so as she's banging on the window, we hear him yelling at her to run.
Yes.
And so she walks out the door and the lights turn back on. And then the man grabs her and smashes her against the door. And it kind of knocks her out for a minute. And
It
then
does knock her out, right?
Yeah. And this is the part that is effective for me because he's dragging her down the hall and she's kind of like going in and out of being awake and like kind of trying to half-heartedly grab on. And I mean, I could understand her just being out of it, but we hear her scream and she gets dragged off camera.
Yeah.
And then we are fading up from black. And we see
It's daylight now.
It is daylight, and Pinup Girl opens the window, and we see that she's back in her bridesmaid's dress, which is
Yeah.
weird.
So they changed her into her bridesmaid's dress.
Right, and I'm
Or
glad we didn't have to
perhaps
see that.
just forgot that she wasn't wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and a flannel over it.
They're both tied in chairs right next to each other. This is like the iconic shot from the poster where we see Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman looking at them,
Yes.
and they're standing with their masks facing us. And she says, "Why are you doing this to us?" And one of them says, "Because you were home."
It's one of the girls, yeah.
It's one of the girls, yeah. And that is one of the things I do really like about this movie is that it's just pointless. And I know that you guys probably are not going to like that. But
No, I
like,
actually liked it.
Like the random element of like some people are just psychotic and they just want to kill people and there's nothing you can do.
Well, it's like if you get targeted by a serial killer. Like there's
Right.
like horror stories like that do happen.
They do, yeah. At this point, they like Liv Tyler is trying to like reason with them and plead with them, and they all three take their masks off. And I also like that we don't ever see their faces.
And then you see kind of a hint of recognition in Jim's face.
Yeah, because it's like, oh my God, it's my brother.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you don't
He's
have to
not
do
heavy.
this. You don't have to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the part that has stuck with me. And I think this is just a really like realistic but brutal like way that they die
yeah.
because they're struggling and it's not really gratuitous or over the top. They just like, it's almost like they're trying it out because they just sit down and they're looking at him and they just stab him. And
Yeah.
then they like take turns stabbing him.
I like this scene. I think the whole movie's kind of written around this scene because I think this scene's probably the best done because they're looking at each other and she's like, look at me, I love you. Just keep focusing on me. And then they're all taking turns stabbing him. And the focus is on them as a couple.
Right.
Yeah.
It's never on the killers.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
And they like hold hands with and he sees that she's got the ring on and she says, "I love you." Yeah.
the rest of the movie's just not filmed like that or made like that. So it doesn't
No.
work for me.
I think there are 2 or 3 wonderful things in this movie,
Right.
and the way it's strung together doesn't work.
Their
as a
relationship
whole.
doesn't get stronger as the movie goes on.
Right. Although I am glad, like it really does make me sad when they die because I think it's really brutal, and I think like I could just imagine.
Oh
being
yeah,
in their
and then it's like
shoes.
it's like completely powerless and like very
Right.
scary.
You
like,
keep saying they die, but they don't die.
They don't die. die.
Because they pull a scream and she's like, stab me right here.
Yeah, exactly. And she never gets real woozy.
Right. Well, and we see him having been stabbed.
Yeah.
But we see her get stabbed. And then that's when it starts cutting to. Now, it did cut to outside, like mailbox scenes.
You're right. Not all three of them stab her.
Right.
Only one does.
Right. And we
Stab,
don't.
quote unquote. We never see her get stabbed.
Right. Because once they start, in quote, stabbing her, we never cut back the way we did with Jim. Yeah. And because we're hearing her screaming and we're seeing the outside establishing shots. And that is really effective too. And I think we're imagining what's happening to her without actually having to see it.
Well, and that's what they wanted to do because they wanted Jim to die thinking that they were killing Liv Tyler, but that's not what happened.
Right.
No. She lives and then she hooks up with his older brother.
That's the sequel, actually. And so then we see the not Mormon kids riding their bikes.
Right.
And the truck with the three of them, I guess the front magically healed itself or something, or it can still drive.
I mean, it was an old Ford truck.
Well, that's
I mean,
true.
they made them better back then.
In the 70s?
Yeah.
So they're driving away and they pass the two kids on their bikes. And one of the blonde girls gets out. And this, I think, was a little like ham-fisted or on the nose because she asks for one of those brochures. And it's like, and the boy asks, "Are you a sinner?" And she says, "Sometimes." And then they drive away, and one of them says it'll be easier next time.
Yeah.
She's just really scared of kids, and like that, he's trying to like encourage her to talk to kids more. He's like, it'll be easier next time.
Talking to those kids, yeah. When I have them with Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll get to know them.
Exactly. When you're raising mine and Liv's kids, it'll
Right.
be easier.
And then we see the scene from the beginning. And this struck me as odd, too, because in the beginning, we had heard this over a 911 call, but they're walking through
A
and
crime
they're
scene.
not crying. They're not upset.
No, they're not. They see Liv Tyler's like dead body, quote
exactly.
unquote.
And he goes up to try to
See if she's alive.
Right.
Yeah.
And she is. She jump scares back
Yes.
to life. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I didn't remember her being alive.
I don't know. I mean, probably because I didn't remember a lot about the movie, and now I know why, because it's forgettable.
And I'm glad she lived. Like, I
Sure.
like her.
Yeah.
You know, it
But
was.
then the phone call at the beginning doesn't make any sense
Right.
either because she's alive.
Exactly.
Ugh.
And like that they don't know what happened doesn't make sense either, I guess, unless she has amnesia, and that it's just
That's
it's-
convenient.
Isn't it, Mikey? Wanker, wanker.
Yeah.
But
that's the movie.
Roll the credits.
So having seen the movie, having talked about it, what do you guys think?
I don't like it. I feel like this is why I personally have a lot of trouble with horror films, because there's not a lot of good male protagonists that don't do really dumb things or treat people right.
I remember watching this the first time, and I remember everybody having freaked out about it and like really wanting to like it and thinking there's a lot of good things here, but it overall just doesn't work for me. And that's kind of how I felt today, although I think once we've started to examine all of the pieces, there are things that I really, really like about this movie.
It's so hard for me to get into a movie if I can't relate to one of the characters. And like, I just did not like this dude at all.
I can relate to the characters, and I feel
You've tried to have your fiance murdered?
No, I can relate to what actually happens in the movie.
You've tried to have your fiance murdered?
Because I do feel really bad for them at that last scene, and there's an element of helplessness there that's really effective. And I think
Sure.
a lot of the imagery is great, and we've kind of talked about it. Like, there are a lot of really great pieces in a puzzle that
Yeah.
just overall doesn't work for me.
Yeah, so for me, it is some really effective scares, but a story that doesn't rise to the level of those scares.
Right.
So I was scared at some points because they were effective jump scares
Right.
or they were just creepy moments, but the story is so bad and it's directed so bad. It's laughable to me. So, like, I wasn't very scared because I was like, holy shit, this is not executed well.
And it took
But, like,
you out of the
if
movie.
you had a competent director, this was a very scary movie, but it wasn't executed, so it wasn't scary. Yeah, and I don't think it is bad acting.
No, I don't either.
really do think
No.
it's bad directing and somewhat of a bad story,
Yeah.
although I do think the story could be scary in a better director's
I think
hands.
it just needed to be edited a little bit better and like tightening up some of the continuity, because I do kind of like that we don't know very much about their relationship. I don't need them to have like a lovey-dovey functional relationship because that's a believable thing. That,
Right.
Like, there are couples that are going to be breaking up and terrible things are going to happen, and I don't need them to grow stronger together for the movie to work.
I
'Cause
do need them
ultimately-
to grow stronger together for her to say I love you at the end and it not be funny.
That's the thing. They have
Right.
that ending. They have the beginning where their relationship is kind of a mess. What if they started working well together as a team?
Exactly.
Throughout the movie, then they end tragically. It would have been very sad. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
So I agree with what you were saying, Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they're showing in the movie is sort of silly
Well,
because
and it's that I love you isn't earned.
Exactly.
And I will say there is a sequel to this movie, The Strangers Pray at Night, and a lot of the problems that I have with this movie are fixed in the next one, and I love the sequel.
It must have been directed by somebody else.
It was.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's
there you go.
really good.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, so
It
I look
has
forward
one
to
of my
that.
favorite musical moments in any movie.
It's a
awesome.
musical? Let's
No,
do
but
this.
there's like,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
musical. Let's do it.
so cool.
You're lying to me.
I mean,
All right, well, let's do box office.
all right.
This movie came out in 2008. So, what do you think the production budget for this movie was?
Probably pretty low. I would say 1 million.
It is sort of a single location movie, although there technically is another one, a flashback scene
Oh, yeah.
at the parking lot outside the venue. Mikey, what do you think the production budget was?
$5 million.
Okay. Liv Tyler is not a no-name actress. The production
That's
budget was
true.
$9 million.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So-
But I think a lot of that went to
Wow.
actors probably.
Maybe? I don't know. I mean, really the only big-name actor is Liv Tyler.
Now, Scott Speedman was not a nobody.
He's not a nobody, right? But he's not like
He's not like a $2 million guy.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But Liv Tyler might be a $2 million girl. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So she could be $2 million that production budget. What I don't understand is how this movie was not shot for, the cost of the actors.
Right.
And then literally maybe $500,000.
There's no special effects.
There's no special effects. It's more or less single location.
Yeah.
And there's only 5 actors.
Right. And it's not like it's an extravagant single location that would have
No.
taken a lot of money to make the
No.
set. Like, we barely see the wedding. And then the other location is a parking lot.
Right.
So, yeah, that is interesting that it costs that much
But it isn't a
money.
huge budget, but
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's as much as it is with what you see on the screen. So, what do you guys think it made domestic when it came out in 2008?
I think it did really well.
70.
Okay.
100.
It made $52 million domestically,
Mm-hmm.
and then made another 30 international. So the total was 83 million, and then it made 23 million, almost 24 million in domestic DVD sales and Blu-ray sales. So it made over $100 million.
It was huge.
It did
Like,
well. Yeah.
And I remember, I didn't see it in the theaters, but I remember everybody going nuts. And I do think like it was kind of a different style at the time,
Were they only making good horror movies at this time? This came out on May 30th, 2008, and the week it premiered, it was third at the box office. It got beat by Sex and the City, the first one.
That's a
Right?
good. That's the good movie.
Ugh.
Oh, I love it.
And the new-ish Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, God.
Crystal
Yeah.
Skull?
I can see
Crystal
why
Skull,
this got big.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that
it
Crystal
beat
Skull.
Iron Man and the Chronicles of Narnia. That was the top 5. So it was Sex and the City, Indiana Jones, The Strangers, Iron Man, Chronicles of Narnia. So that's box office. Jen,
Fun fact us.
yeah, Jen,
All right.
let's do some fun facts.
I want fun facts all over my face.
This is the kind of movie that I think I like more in theory, and I like to kind of talk about the themes more than I like actually watching it, because this is an example of pastoral paranoia, which I think is interesting. It's danger in the country and in rural areas. And that's another thing I don't think the movie does well, is I don't think it establishes how isolated they are, because it does look like it's a street. It looks like it's the Friday the 13th
They had
Part 4
$9
street.
million and they didn't do one helicopter or drone shot or whatever.
Well, drones weren't a thing in 2008,
Well,
but yeah, a helicopter.
Helicopters cost
You
$20
could have
million
shot
back.
everything on a helicopter with this movie.
Right.
Because helicopters are cool.
Right?
This was originally going to be titled The Faces.
Oh, wow. That's a bad title.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they changed it. And I do like the title. I'm going to link information to the 2 cases that we talked about. He said he was inspired by reading the book Helter Skelter, and that is a good book. I read it a couple of years ago. But I am going to link information to the Ketty Cabin murders, because
Okay.
that's a creepy, really sad story. So a little bit about Liv Tyler. This was the first movie that she had done in a while after she had her son. So Lord of the Rings or Return of the King hit theaters in 2003. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
I'm not exactly sure if that was the last thing she did before having her son, but she did have a child and she took a couple of years off, and this was the first thing she'd done. And I remember that was one of the things people were talking about, is Liv Tyler's in this movie, and she hasn't done anything in the while.
Sure, yeah.
So
And she had just been in what was probably the biggest franchise at that time for a long time.
Right. Yeah. She got tonsillitis while she was shooting this because she was screaming so much. But I don't remember her screaming that
She doesn't
much
scream
in
a
the
lot
movie.
or
They
talk
must,
a lot.
They must not have used those takes.
Exactly, which is because I do know that they hid the masks from her until she saw them in the shot so that she would have an authentic reaction. And I think there's times where she is screaming, but they don't use it that much, because when I read that fact and I hadn't seen it in a while, I imagined her like screaming throughout the whole thing, and she doesn't. So that's interesting.
It is interesting.
That they didn't use that, especially since she damaged her voice because of that. But they also told her that there was going to be banging, but they didn't tell her where it was going to come from, or they told her it was going to come
Sure.
from a different direction. So I do think that was I believe that she is scared
Yeah.
throughout throughout this too, and I think she
Sure.
does a great
Yeah,
job.
I don't think the actors are doing a bad job.
I don't think so either. Yeah. Okay. So the masks were, we already said the blonde girl was called Dollface.
Mm-hmm.
The brunette had the mask called Pinup Girl. And the man in the mask, he's just credited as the man in the mask. And they wanted these masks to feel like they could have just picked them up at Walmart. So this was all shot with either handheld or a Steadicam.
Yeah.
I do think that's an effective choice because it gives you kind of a more intimate feel.
It's also a very cheap choice. I wonder if the
If
guy
it
just
was a
stole
bezel,
$9
like-
million. Yeah, I think he did steal
What did he
$8
spend
million.
all that money?
Yeah, I think so.
And then made this movie for $1 million.
All right. And my last fun fact was that there was originally going to be a lot more dialogue between Liv Tyler and the killers. And I think in that scene in the kitchen when they both have knives, and they cut that to make the killers more mysterious and to like part of why we don't ever see their face. And I think that is an effective choice because that fits the unnamed threat and the randomness of the movie, which I really liked. And those are my fun facts.
Well, thank you for your fun facts, Jen.
Well, you're very welcome.
So let's do the scary scale.
All right, let's do the scary scale.
So, hey, listeners, our scary scale is a scale we use to rank how scared we were by the movie. It's not the quality of the film, it's how scared we were tonight when we watched it. Our one example is Ghostbusters. Our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, Todd.
I'm going to give it a 2.
A 2? Okay.
Yeah. There were some moments that got me to jump, a few jump scares in it, but ultimately it wasn't a very scary movie because it's so unbelievable.
Mikey?
I'm gonna give it a 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're dead inside.
I'm dead inside. I just wasn't scared.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3, mostly because of the scene at the very end. That just,
Mm-hmm.
that is something that has stuck with me over the years.
That scene does stick with me, and that's the only thing I kind of remembered.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie cheapens that scene.
All right, and that's our scary scale.
So this week you guys, this week the listeners made me watch
did.
The Strangers. What are you guys making me watch next week?
We're gonna stay topical next
we
week.
are going to
yeah?
stay topical.
You guys
yeah.
heard of this quarantine virus thing going around the earth?
Right, and it's making us
The
all
Earth.
go crazy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So
So
we're
we're
going to
gonna
watch
The
Crazies.
Yes, starring Dream
I love
Hunt,
this movie.
Timothy Oliphant.
Never
I
seen
do
it.
too.
I honestly didn't know it existed until you guys started talking about it today. Guys, watch The Crazies, the
The
2010, right?
Yeah, it's the one with Timothy Oliphant.
I think it's
in it.
2010 because we
I
looked it
think
up when
so.
we were talking about it. The other one was from 73. I remember
Yeah.
that.
I've never seen the
And
original.
it's
I haven't
not
either.
that one. It's the newer
We're
one.
watching
So
the remake.
whatever, it was in the 2000s. It's that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and we hope you're staying safe out there.
Yeah, guys, stay safe and please quarantine yourself.
Yes,
Wash your hands.
So Mikey's going to read a review, and while he's looking that up, guys, if you want Mikey to read your review, leave a 5-star review on Apple iTunes and give like a funny way for him to read it. So like an accent or
Yeah.
something like that, maybe some emojis, that kind of stuff.
Maybe he has to read it like Snuffleupagus.
Ooh, I love it.
Hey.
So guys, make sure you leave that 5-star review and we will read it.
God, we got a ton of reviews in the last couple of weeks.
I know, it's been awesome. Guys, please keep leaving these 5-star reviews. It really does help people find the show.
All right, T. Hamma
Oh, T. Hamma.
To Hammer.
says, "My horror besties," and they want me to do this in the Scream Ghostface voice.
Nice.
If Mikey could handle, I can handle anything.
Oh, yeah, you
Oh.
can. Ladies.
Let's just get weird with it.
Let's get weird with it, Mikey.
Yeah. I follow. Okay, yeah.
Get in the character, Mikey. You got this.
What's your favorite scary movie?
What's your favorite scary movie? Okay, yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
I follow mini horror podcasts, but
In
this,
a world.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
but this is hands down the best one.
Oh, thanks.
What makes this podcast special is the chemistry between the hosts.
Aw.
They are energetic, enthusiastic, and are clearly great friends.
The funny thing is, we never see each other outside of the podcast, and I think that is good for us.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do enjoy the pod
I do,
lunches
too.
we have.
And
We
I
need to
mean,
get back into that. But
But I mean, it's also like 6 hours a week, so it's not like
I
I
know.
see you more than
I
I
see
see
you
a
more
lot
than
of
my
my
most
friends.
friends.
that's
right.
true.
I especially appreciate the moments when they get vulnerable and
Oh, yeah.
speak from their own personal experiences.
Oh, my God.
Thank you. You sound like you're about to go into a wrestling.
I know.
match.
I'm getting real close to wrestler. All right. This is my go-to podcast whenever
Oh,
I
thank
feel
you.
down and need positivity in my life.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
thanks.
5 stars.
Oh, thank you very much,
you.
T. Hammer.
T.
Hammer.
T. Hammer, thank you so much for that review.
Thank you.
And again, if you want us to read your 5-star review, leave a 5-star review and have Mikey read it.
Yep.
We are a member of the Consequence Podcast Network, so if you could do us a favor, check out their shows like Kyle Meredith with This Must Be the Gig, The Assembly.
Well, they have a new one that just debuted. It's called Ghost Echoes. So
Ghost Echoes. Okay, cool,
yeah,
cool.
it's a music history podcast.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I probably would love that. Yeah,
I think
okay,
you
cool.
would.
I'll check that out.
The Fifth Dimension, and they have The Losers Club and Halloweenies.
And
Yeah.
you just recorded an episode today for The Losers Club, right?
Yeah, I was on the and I think it probably has dropped like last Friday, and it's on Gerald's Game, so you can check that out now too. Yeah,
guys, and make sure you follow us on socials at Horror Virgin, or if you want to follow us individually, Jen is at Jenn Ferratu with 2 N's, Mikey's M Randolph 24, and I'm Todd J Awesome on all the socials. Of course, if you want to follow us online, we are at horrorvirgin.com, and that's where you can find links to the merch and the blog and stuff like that. You can also help support us online at patreon.com/horrorvirgin. A lot of great levels, a lot of great things. We actually put up a lot of content this past week, a bonus episode. We got some Too Hot for Horror Virgin clips that I threw together that were just too overtly sexual for the regular pod, so we threw those online.
Which is hard. That's hard to do.
It is hard to do, but we
yeah.
managed to do it.
And I just did a bunch of videos recapping
On the Outsider,
The Outsider, yeah, but that's over, and now I'm kind of thinking about what I'm going to do next because I want to do another series. So let me know if there's a particular one.
House on Haunted Hill or Haunted Hill House or whatever that one was. People have been talking about that. Maybe you should do that.
I love
And I know you've seen it, so
I have, yeah. And Bly Manor's coming out, so I'll probably be doing that. Well, and also, like, this is a listener request episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way that you can request and vote on what these episodes are is to become a patron, and all levels of patrons can suggest and vote on
absolutely,
these movies.
yeah.
And
if you can't financially support the show, that's fine. We definitely understand that. Just keep doing what you're doing and telling your friends, family, and coworkers about the show, because that's the best way to get people to learn about the show, and that helps probably more than anything. And also, we do have a very supportive Facebook community where you can get daily free content there. So check that out, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's going to be it for us, guys. Listeners, thank you so much for suggesting and voting on this movie.
This was an interesting movie.
It really was, yeah. And while we didn't love it, we love you and we respect your opinion. But we love all of you, and we appreciate you sharing like we want to know what movies you want to watch too. So thank you for participating in that.
Absolutely.
That's going to be it for us tonight, guys. I'm real tired and my hand's falling asleep, so it's time.
Hey, you can do The Stranger.
Speaking of The Stranger, oh my God.
I'm Jen.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, guys.
Have a great week.
Love you, mean it, don't get arrested.
Oh.
Bye.
Stay quarantined, bitches.
Quarantine nerds.
Consequence Podcast Network.